Welcome back. Rand Water says it's now pumping more water than it should from the Vaal Dam river system because the demand from the Gauteng water systems has increased so much. Under the current system, the National Water Affairs Department allows Rand Water to take a certain amount from the Vaal Dam every day. It purifies that water, it sells it to the municipalities around Gauteng. Now it's taking more water than it should be. But a big factor in this is around 42% of the water used by Gauteng metros is lost through leaks. The official term for this is non-revenue water. The international average is a lot lower than that. Dr Ferrial Adam is the Executive Manager at WaterCan, part of WaterCan. Dr. Adam, good afternoon to you. So, Rand Water again complaining that demand for water has increased. Is it normal for demand to be so high? And it has, of course, been very hot in the north of the country over the last few weeks.
Good afternoon, Stephen. Yes, I think that it does, it does go through ups and downs. And in summer, we do see an increase in the amount of water that is being used generally. So that demand is not new. It is something that we know about and has been happening for years.
It's interesting that it's been a very intense set of heat waves. I presume the longer and the hotter, the more water is used.
Well, that is definitely the case in what we're seeing. But I think also, when they do the breakdown of how water is allocated in Gauteng or in the city of Joburg, for example, we're still not sure how much is being used by industry, how much is being used by small-scale farmers, and how much is then being used by residents. So when Rand Water says everyone is demanding too much, we don't exactly know which sector that's coming from, and that would be an interesting breakdown to have.
Okay. So at the moment, Rand Water says it's taking more water from the Vaal River system than it should. Will the National Department stop it from doing that?
Well, eventually they would, because also you must remember Rand Water does not have the capacity to clean more than they can. So yes, they have a water use license for a particular amount and they can increase it, but the systems that they use is at the max right now in terms of cleaning that water. So they can't take more because they don't have the capacity to clean it.
So in other words, there is literally no more water left. What we're using is all that there is in Gauteng.
Well, there is water. It's just the capacity for Rand Water to clean the water. So their cleaning systems can only, for example, do 5,000 or 5 million liters per day. It can't go beyond that. The system then breaks down. So they have the water, they just can't clean more than they have.
If you know that a heat wave is coming, is it possible to store water in reservoirs and things like that in advance?
Well, I think you can do that, but what's been happening in the city of Joburg, as you've seen, is that the combination of load shedding, the combination of reservoirs leaking, the pipes leaking, that the city hasn't been able to get their finger on this one, or at least be prepared. Because we know that, with heat waves, you can start creating education and awareness way before. But I think that the city's been busy fighting fires, that they've just let this one go. And so that's why we're also facing some of the issues we are facing right now.
There are various elements to all of this. And the big problem, as we all know, Dr. Adam, and I mean, you had to discuss this many times, is the amount of water that we waste. So, yes, there's a big shortage. Yes, everything that Rand Water can do, they are doing. They're running at full capacity. But that's really because we almost waste half of it.
Absolutely. I think that is so that's, the fact that you're wasting half of it, and we're paying for that water to be cleaned, by the way. So it's costing the country about 20 billion rands a year in terms of the national amount of water that's covered as non-revenue water. Not all of that is lost through leaks. Like in Johannesburg, you have a number of about 44% that can be classified as non-revenue water, and 24% of that is being lost through leaks. That's still high. I don't care if they're saying, well, the international average is 30, so it's okay. No, it's not okay. We have climate change, we have heat wave, we're in a water scarce country. You cannot afford to waste as much water as we are wasting. And then I think the difficulty then is creating awareness amongst consumers to say, how do we also save water? Because we do waste water. Individuals need to also own up that we do waste water. But when you look at your municipality wasting so much, then how do you ask people to stop wasting? It becomes a difficult one.
It requires a whole sort of national effort, I suppose. But it
Yes.
also requires a lot of money. And everything comes back to really the same problem. We know the population of Gauteng is growing. We need investment in phase 2 of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project. But really the easiest thing to do would be to stop wasting so much water. And yet it might even be cheaper just to expand the Highlands Water Project because it's going to be so expensive to replace all of the broken pipes.
And, well, we can fix those leaks. We just need to do it with the urgency that is required. And in terms of the money that's available, I mean, every municipality will tell you, no, we don't have money. But then, they're still sending money back to Treasury that was supposed to be spent on infrastructure. That's the one thing. The second thing is the income from water in the city of Joburg alone gives them a 12 billion rand surplus. And how much of that do they allocate them to Joburg Water? About 1 billion. So, and Joburg Water needs about 2 billion, maybe 3 billion to function optimally. So, they can, instead of having a surplus on your books, allocate more water to the issues that are urgent. And right now, we cannot afford the failure in our water. And Joburg Water needs to be given more water to deal with the kind of infrastructure damage and the wastage that's going on.
There have been warnings being sounded for a very long time by yourselves and others. Is there any sign that the people who actually have to make the decisions, I suppose in some cases the politicians, are actually listening? And I know it was, I think, just last week that the Water Affairs Minister released 3 big reports on this. Clearly, he's very worried about the future.
He is very worried, and I must commend him and commend the department for actually releasing those reports because they paint a very bleak picture. So you have to be very brave to do that. But at the same breath, the ministers keep saying that there is no crisis. And for as long as you say that, people are going to believe that there's no crisis and carry on as business as usual. And we need to have an urgent kind of response to what's going on with our water. It has to be a crisis. And if we treat it as a crisis, we can all get on board to fix this because government is at a point now where they cannot do it alone. And we're seeing that in the city of Joburg. It's just a non-functioning government, actually.
There are other things to this. So in the last few years, in a way, we've been relatively lucky. Even now, the Vaal Dam, I think, still around 80% full. Sterkfontein, a deeper dam, which feeds the Vaal Dam. The last time I checked was around 98% full. It's before our rainy season, as you know. And that's all because of the La Nina systems that we've had. But we're going into El Nino now. So we could, and one of the reasons the National Department puts limits on how much Rand water can take from the Vaal Dam River system is to prepare for droughts. So at the moment, we're wasting a lot of water. We're just surviving. Rand Water is producing all the water, all the purified water that it can. And this is during the good times. What happens if we have a drought?
That is a very good question because I don't think that we're going to be able to manage during a drought. And it's a big concern. So it's El Nino, it's climate change. We're going to be having hotter, weather. We're going to have this kind of extreme weather's happening more frequently. And we have to put things into place to deal with that. And I'm afraid I don't think that we are ready to actually deal with more drought. And this is a national issue. If we go straight into a very harsh El Nino, the Eastern Cape that has just recovered from a very bad drought will not be able to recover from another drought that was as bad as it had previously.
Dr. Ferrial Adam, thank you, the Executive Manager at WaterCan, part of OUTA. Really do appreciate the time.